back. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
Well, we're moving on up, to the east side, to a deluxe apartment in the sky. Moving on up.
We're moving on. Well, why are we playing the Jeffersons song? Because it's a fun song, and it's great memories, and a lot of people who used and who still quite vividly remember the Jeffersons like listening to Boomer Life here on CL 650. Nice to have you with us this morning. Our guests are from ShannonOaks in Vancouver and Victoria. Jillian Fullerton is here, and also we are joined by Patrick Fagan of Act Together Moving Services, also of Metro Vancouver and Victoria. And we're talking about seniors, retirement, community living. And Jillian, you're the frontline person. You take a lot of calls from people like us,
Yes.
we the boomer kids who are out there doing the whole. And Patrick, same with you. Boomers, you speak to at least as many boomers as you do their senior parents, don't you?
You got that right. Sterling.
And we're just doing the homework. We're getting out there doing a lot of the initial legwork and doing the websites, and that's where we start. It's easy, and Canadians are notorious consumers of the internet. On a world basis, we use it almost more than anyone else. We just love the internet. So good idea to get the websites all spruced up. It's now ShannonOaks.com,
Yes.
and you go click on that, and you can go to either Vancouver or Victoria, making it even easier for us boomers to
That's
do
right.
good homework, good work, because it wasn't that a year ago. It was
No.
different, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It's now www.ShannonOaks.com.
Right.
And it'll take you to both sites.
And when people get past the website stage and call you up and maybe look for a chance to have a meeting and
Yes.
an interview and all that kind of stuff.
Come for lunch. Come and have a look around. Kick
okay.
the tires.
There you go. And when those conversations take place, and you fill them in on the numbers and a
Yep.
lot of the details, because we're doing homework here,
Yes.
and we got a lot of good questions. But what happens when they say, okay, well, this has been fantastic. I appreciate all the information you've given us, but I must confess that when I take this back to Dad, he's going to go right through the roof. He's not going to like this idea because he can't imagine himself moving into a seniors retirement community. He doesn't want to go to, quote, an old folks home. Well, and
that's the perception we
that's,
fight.
That's what a lot of seniors, and we're talking about people in their 70s and 80s, and in my mom's case, well into her 90s.
Yes.
And when you talk about a seniors retirement community, they see that horrible old place where they used to warehouse
That's right.
old people, and they don't want anything to do with it, and who can blame them?
I agree. Come and take a look of what the contemporary retirement community looks like. There is all sorts of activities going on. There's people doing wonderful activities together, new friendships being made, wonderful restaurant-style meals, coming down and being entertained by singers, by bands, by orchestras, going to movies together, going on bus trips together. It's certainly not warehousing.
That's right.
It's a wonderful new change of lifestyle. It's invigorating. As opposed to staying at home in your home alone, turning on the TV and being that your conversation point.
That's right, yeah. And Patrick, you speak to as many boomers probably as Jillian and their parents. And when you encounter, particularly at the second phase, if the kids have sort of broken the ice and you've had that first meeting and now it's time to meet mom or dad, and there's the resistance, and you can walk into the room and you're a professional. You've been at this for a while, and you know immediately, here's a person who's not really happy to see me. And really doesn't want to talk about personal stuff in his or her life, and so there's a pretty defensive, almost wall built around this person, and you sort of have to break through that. Now, you've been at it for a while, but when you encounter someone who's being pretty fiercely resistant to the whole notion, a lot of the times the excuse is, well, what on earth am I going to do with my stuff? And the other excuse, and I'll come back to that, but the other excuse, Jillian, perhaps even more frequent than that, is, well, I'm just not ready yet, thank you.
That's right. I get that often. And so I very quietly ask them, well, could you tell me what ready looks like? And they really don't have an answer for it. They don't have an answer. And that is a real problem. They are just putting that defensive wall, and they don't know where to take the next step.
Right.
And so we ask them to come and take a look at ShannonOaks. Come for lunch. In fact, if you're really wanting to understand things, come for a trial stay. I will offer them a complimentary trial stay.
For a few days then, huh?
Sure. Yep. Come for 3 to 5 days. Pack your bag, put your toothbrush, your nightie, change of clothes maybe. That's it. Come and be entertained and see what the new lifestyle is really about.
Right. And Patrick, when the non-answer for show me what ready looks like, then the fallback position is, well, doesn't matter. I've got all this stuff. What am I going to do with my stuff?
Yeah.
This is where the professional downsizer like yourself
Yes.
has to begin the diplomatic part of discussing that subject with someone who really they're just kind of ticked that you're even in their house in many cases. So how do you break down that wall?
Well, I sometimes I want to ask them about some of the charities they supported their whole lives or the community work they've done.
And most of our parents have been pretty good about that.
Yeah, that generation, mine and a lot of generations could learn from them.
You bet.
In that respect. But
Yep.
what I'm getting at is that perhaps there's an opportunity to, if they choose to make that transition and move into a gorgeous place like ShannonOaks, that they can along the way maybe help some young mothers who could use a rocking chair. Maybe they can help out a nephew who's moving, and beds are expensive.
Yep.
He slept in that one in the spare bedroom many times. He knows it's comfortable.
Sure.
So there's maybe a few things around the house that someone in need could benefit from.
Right.
Their church might have a book sale going on. Boom, there goes that book, all those books from the bookcase. So we can find ways to disperse some of the things that they would maybe be ready to let go of it even if they weren't moving.
Mm-hmm.
So we can start to thin out some of the stuff that they might feel that they're captive by.
And
all that stuff.
You started. You gave us at the beginning. You talked about. And it's a wonderful example. I'm just wondering if there's a third pile. You talked about. You gave us an example sitting in this person's living room for the first time. You ask them, well, take a look around the living room and tell me the 3 most important things in this room that you definitely would take with you anywhere.
Yeah.
And then you say, and now show me the 3 things in this room that you really could care less if you took anywhere at all. Is there a third pile? Well, I'm not sure about those, so let's just set them aside in the third pile. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe I want to keep them, maybe I don't. So you've got the definitely out and gone and the absolutely I'm taking them. Do you do the 3-pile setup? Is that how you go?
Often, yeah. I can give you 3 good reasons why we like to think in threes.
Okay.
Just kidding. No, no, it's.
I fell right into that one, didn't I? Huh?
No, there is another pile, and in that pile we might have stuff that are valuables nobody wants, but we should sell it. So we're going to find that collector that will give them good money for the things they've been gathering up that are worth something.
Right.
Perhaps there is some teak furniture that we were chatting about earlier. That's hot right now.
Mm-hmm.
So if they've got this big credenza that's not going to fit in their new gorgeous 1 or 2 bedroom suite, let's say, well, hell, let's sell it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And are there... I'm a huge fan of the Antiques Roadshow. I just love the show. I love the expression on the face. Well, I bought it at the flea market for $6. You know it's worth $25,000, don't you? And the person just about has a heart attack on TV.
Yeah.
I love it. So when you're discussing this with clients, are there surprises, Patrick? Are there some things in people's family collections that are discovered to be, holy cow, had no idea it was worth that much?
Yeah, we see this regularly. Things that they've had in the family for a while, whether it be a storyboard from Papua New Guinea they didn't realize is now highly collectible.
Right.
Or an Emily Carr painting that was on the stairway heading downstairs that they never even realized was an original piece of work.
Right.
So we stumble across stuff all the time that then we need to bring in an appraiser, get it certified for the value, and then find a buyer if they don't want to bring it. But if they do want to bring it, we're going to get some special insurance to cover the valuable. And, it can be a pretty fun process of discovery.
Right, and I'm sure, though, Jillian, because there's a house full of stuff, a lot of it has enormous sentimental value,
Yes.
but very actual little
That's right.
monetary
That's
value. And that's the stuff that becomes a little dicier to deal with because of the emotional connection, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. There's no 2 ways about it. It's difficult to make those decisions. I mean, all of us, I think, have sentimental things we've got saved. The older we are, the more we've got saved.
Sure.
But to make those decisions, when you realize moving into ShannonOaks that you have an apartment, but you want it to be free from clutter. So
Right.
make those hard decisions. Maybe your granddaughter would like this memento that you've got. Maybe your children. Maybe you've got baby. I knew a person that had the baby clothes from her children still. I mean, little moth.
Oh, sure, right.
You know, but maybe they would like them. If not, toss them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it's just you've got to sort of give them to the next generation, or give them away.
Right. And that's another thing. And Patrick, I'm glad you brought that up, because you can turn a negative, the forced, and I'm using their thought patterns here, the forced losing of some of my possessions, that's perceived as a negative. It can become a positive simply by donating it. As Jillian has said, family members, charitable organizations. I mean, if there's no monetary value, there's still much use to be had from a lot of these things that, you know, you're not just going to throw it on a trash heap somewhere. You're going to go to a women's shelter or to some other, like the Salvation Army or St. Vincent de Paul or some of these charitable outfits that really will get incredible mileage out of your stuff.
Yeah, that legacy that they've built throughout their whole life just continues on that arm of giving, of whether it's blankets or, you know, cutlery from the kitchen. There's so many extras that now they're in a great position to give a helping hand.
What, just out of curiosity, what is the most difficult thing for people to part with that is difficult to take with you to Shannon Oaks? I'm thinking probably big clunky pieces of furniture, right?
Yeah, that would. But, you know, I got to compliment so many of my clients. They know in advance. They didn't need to break out a measuring tape. They know they're not bringing their dining room set.
Sure.
And, you're right. It's a dining room set.
Yeah.
And they don't like the fact that they can't bring it, but they tend to accept that after they've digested the idea of a smaller place.
Sure.
You know, they've made some big decisions in their lives, from either having kids or their career or you know, the whole 9 yards, and they can start to digest and realize what's not going to fit.
But that dining room set has huge emotional baggage around it.
Absolutely.
All the family dinners and the grandchildren.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing is you're saying goodbye to that. And we respect that, you know, and Patrick respects that that's something they have to put aside. That's why pictures are so important.
Sure.
You know, bring the pictures, and so you have those memories. And I think photo albums are wonderful, just to refresh those memories throughout your life. Get rid of the big dining room suite. You got a picture of it at that family dinner. You remember it.
Well, and the dining room suite is a good point to remind people who move that when you move into a retirement community like Shannon Oaks, you can cook if you want. If you've been an excellent cook all your life, and you just once a month you just got to go bake something, just knock you right out of your shoes.
You can do that.
There's those, but they on a daily basis, the drudgery of meal preparation and cleaning up and all of that kind of
shopping,
it's gone.
Yes.
It's just absolutely removed from your life.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
You're free. I mean, doesn't that free up a number of hours so you can do some things with the new friends you've met?
Well,
you can go to a play. You can do all sorts of things.
Let me talk about that, because on the one hand, that freedom and the choices that you now have is fabulous. It's a little intimidating to people who rely on a schedule. I get up, it's like they've been doing it all their lives. I get up in the morning and I do chores. And then I, have breakfast, watch a little TV, and then I have more chores. And then I have lunch and I have more chores. And it's the chores that keep the wheels turning day after day after day, whether it's cleaning or doing the dishes, or there's a routine every day that needs to be acted upon, because that's all they have left.
And you can still have that routine. You can still have that schedule. You can build into not the same chores, but you can do, there's exercise classes sometimes twice a day. There is different sort of things going on, whether it be a shopping trip out, whether it be a trip to Steveston for lunch, or there's all sorts of things that you can have that through the day you can segment your days into those kinds of activities.
So you substitute activities for chores,
yes,
and already it sounds a whole lot better. But the other thing, Jillian, I think that people need to be reminded of, because it's, and Patrick, you've heard this too, well, you know, I really don't want to go to one of those places because I'm going to surrender my independence. I'm not going to have they're going to program every waking minute of every day. I'm going to have to do this, and then I'm going to have to do that, then I have to have lunch, then I have to go do this, then I have to go do that. and they just, I mean, they're hyper imagining, but they have convinced themselves that if they move to a seniors community, they will be bossed around by some activities director who really just, that's what they do. They boss people around.
Sharon gives you choice. We all give you choice. You have a whole array of things. You can choose everything or nothing.
And that's the key, isn't it?
It's a choice.
Your
the
call.
more choices we have, the richer we are.
Right.
We offer you those choices. You do not have to accept any of them. It's your choice. So it is called, and I should talk about this, it's called retirement community. It's also called supportive housing.
Right.
The government calls it supportive housing. The reason being that supports are there to keep you independent longer.
Right.
So the supports are nutritious meals. The supports are 24-hour emergency response.
Sure.
The supports are daily activities that keep your mind going, that keep your, whether it's physical exercise or a mental gymnastics, supports are there to keep you younger longer.
Right.
Yeah,
It's all up. Sorry, Patrick?
I was going to say, great point. For a lot of my clients, whether they're male or female, they love the idea of moving into a place where they can get the support,
Yeah.
but they're not going to stop living. They're going to be heading off, doing their,
Yes.
still volunteering at the food bank, still doing
Exactly.
bus
And
trips.
once they get over the hurdle of thinking that every waking minute is going to be micromanaged, which of course is silly, but nonetheless it's a device of resistance. It's, well, I'm not going to let somebody boss me around, and that's a clue, Jillian. You hear this, that there's more to it than just that remark,
Yes.
isn't there?
Yes, lots more to it.
Right.
It's keeping them independent longer, and that is what we offer them. Keeping them healthy, whether it's physically, emotionally, or mentally stimulated and integrated to their community around them.
Our friends from ShannonOaks in both Vancouver and Victoria are with us on Boomer Life today. ShannonOaks at 2526 Waverly Avenue here in Vancouver, and on the island in Victoria, Oak Bay at 2000 Goldsmith Street. If you want to check them out, you just go to ShannonOaks.com, and the screen will present Vancouver and Victoria. Click on whichever property you'd like to have a look at, and you're into the tour and all the contact information as well. And we're back with lots more on Boomer Life after this.
Canada's only weekly radio show dedicated to the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650.